Good evening. Welcome to the Town of Douglas Conservation
Recording in progress.
Douglas Conservation Commission meeting Monday, November 7th, 2022. We'll go around the room with a quick roll call to show who's here. This is KG Dudley. I'm acting chair tonight for Tracy Sharkey, who is absent.
Eric Harris here.
Joe Fitzpatrick here.
Mike Greco here.
Mark Mungem here.
Thank you. And then we have our agent on the phone. First item on the agenda is the meeting minutes. Well, okay, so first it's orders to be signed, and so we have items to be signed. We can work through those during or at the end of the meeting. Next one, meeting minutes from August 15th and September 12th. We had August 15th, but nobody had a chance to look at it. Has anyone had a chance to look at it since?
I did.
Okay,
Looked okay to me. I saw nothing wrong with it.
all right.
You want a motion?
I will entertain a motion to approve the meeting minutes of August 15th.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Mike, seconded by Joe. All in favor?
Eric Harris, aye.
Joe Fitzpatrick, aye.
Mike Greco, aye.
Mark Mungem, aye.
Okay, that's August 15, and then September 12.
I think that's new to us. I mean, I
It
think
is-
that's,
So if you want to wait until next time, that's fine. All right, and then the next item, item 3, is our 2023 meeting schedule. I'm going to pause on that and get everybody a chance to look through it so we don't hold up the meeting with everybody. The only thing we do on here is make sure that nothing's like a holiday. We've had that in the past where we had dates that just didn't make sense. So this is just kind of a sanity check on those dates, but they should all be, the Mondays that they're supposed to be, first and thirds.
Another comment, Chair.
Yeah?
If you flip it over, you'll see that we'd like to start implementing the meeting date submittal deadlines.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of times we get people advertising for the last possible moment, but this kind of sets a standard that we can hand out to people.
I love it.
All for it.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, so I will come back to that one. Item number 3 is the Shore Road peer review discussion with Graves Engineering. We're essentially, we've got a continuance on that. They're still working on that, Steve?
Yeah, he's still working on it. Both the town council and myself, town council asked if there was anything, so I reached out to him and he said that he wouldn't have anything in time for this meeting.
Okay.
Just to point, I did get I don't know if he's on tonight, but I did get an email from an abutter. I didn't get a chance to forward it. I think he's on tonight. His name's Tom Speroni. I don't know if he had any comments or questions, but we haven't had a chance to. I think the chair was going to respond to his email. I'm not too sure. It's kind of lengthy what he was asking for, but
Okay.
Yeah, I'm on.
Yeah, name and address just for the official record.
Yes, it's Thomas Speroni. I'm at 107 Shore Road.
Okay.
And I had inquired about the peer review with regards to the 12-inch concrete pipe. And my question was, is the peer review going to include review of the concrete pipe all the way down to the water, or is it just across the street? Because I think the question that I had, I'm in the process of purchasing that property across the street. That drainage is on from Cliff Van Reed, and I just want to make sure that that pipe replacement is complete and it includes all the way down to the water, because it's my impression, or I've been told that it may have been changed on the property as well, and I didn't know if that peer review included complete review of the pipe or just from the street.
So I don't have anyone speaking from there. I don't have the peer reviewer in this meeting to speak on that, but I'm going to say that it should be included because it is on that property.
Okay.
And if something like that was missing from a peer review, that would be odd for it to be missing.
Yeah, it wasn't really addressed in the last meeting. I watched the last meeting, and it didn't look, they kept talking about the street and the pipe, and they didn't talk about the property that the pipe goes through, and whether that pipe, that peer review is going to include review all the way from, start to finish from the property across the street to the water. And as long as it does, I'm fine with it.
No, just to be clear, I mean, we might get clarification from that. I think he said he's gonna have a bunch of assumptions on I don't think he's being, you might have to look at the lead tapes, but I think the ZBA had control over the integrity of the pipe that went through the property, and he might be just looking at the pipe in the roadway, so that's pretty. Right, because the emergency order was just for
The way I understood it.
the assumptions.
Oh, no, I assumed it was-
There's a bunch of assumptions I think he was gonna look at, so I don't want to misrepresent, we might have to look at the tape again, but I don't think I asked for clarification from him too, exactly what he's doing, so we'll maybe have that for the next meeting, but we either look at the tape again, but Tom, I don't, it's, I think he was looking at, he came to the last meeting because he wasn't designing it, he was going to do some assumptions on if this and if that, and I think that's what his peer review is going to come out to be. What that pipe entails and how it's constructed, I think the commission, I believe, said that, there's other boards and committees that have authority over specifically maybe the ZBA with the decisions on the integrity of the pipe as it goes through that property. And this.
Yeah, because I had heard his comments last week, and I know that he said he was going to make some assumptions, and I don't know how he can make any assumptions if he doesn't know the size of the pipe going through the property or the pitch of it. So, it doesn't seem like a waste of money if you're not having to analyze the entire scenario. I mean, everybody can see what pipe goes across the street, but if it doesn't go to the water, if it doesn't go to the water properly, then it doesn't solve the problem.
Okay. Yeah, that's something that we can take up with the peer reviewer for certain. Tom, thank you.
Okay, thanks. I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not my intent to include any more discussion on Shore Road again because the stakeholders are not here. We're going to continue that discussion to the next meeting, which is December 5th. Agenda item number 5 is the Ecotech review of the proposal for CRG, which is at 105 and 123 Gilboa Street. We have that review proposal in our folders board for Cubes of Gilboa. This is their estimate, so it is. This is our recommendation for the peer review, and this has got the quote, I believe, for the peer review. Do we have a representation for Cubes of Gilboa?
Hello?
Oh, I just assumed that CRG would be online.
No, they are not. I don't think, they
Okay,
didn't see the proposal yet, so
okay,
we could certainly wait, have them come in. I know there's going to be a meeting tomorrow with the different departments, so after the last meeting, I think the commission wanted to preempt and have a proposal ready. And if this is something you'd like to move forward with, I attached the order to special conditions. And so they had the obligation of hiring a third-party monitoring review, which they came in the
Right.
last meeting to discuss. We have yet to get a report from them. And so, and under the other projects that are happening with the Blackstone Logistics Project, which the town is involved with, Ecotech, in conjunction with the other towns and sites, was the environmental monitoring, and it seemed to work well. So
Okay.
it's an option if the commission wants to move forward. We certainly can bring this up at the meeting tomorrow, that when we have the meeting, that the commission would like to move forward with hiring our own third-party review, or go with the monitoring company that the applicant is going to hire.
I mean, isn't it our preference to use Ecotech?
Provided it's special conditions, I believe it could be up to the commission.
Right. So thoughts? Do we like this proposal? Do we have a proposal from their proposed reviewer?
I've not seen anything, report or anything. They were in at the last meeting
Okay.
to give an update.
So we don't have anything to compare this to.
We don't, I certainly could
We
ask.
just have to decide we don't, okay.
We're supposedly having a meeting tomorrow, so I suppose we could ask them to show up at the 5th and get some comparisons between the two.
Oh, that's-
I feel more comfortable having us provide the environmental monitoring as opposed to the applicant provide somebody that will provide that monitoring. So I would be in favor of hiring an architect for that work.
Okay.
Makes sense.
All right. And then this proposal, any thoughts on this proposal?
Seems appropriate to me.
Okay.
Is this similar in scope to what they're providing at the Blackstone Logistics property?
I believe it is, Mark. I believe, because, they're not engineers, so I think the town is going to be looking at supplementing any engineering review that was going to be coming their ways, but mostly Ecotech, as it states in its things, is looking at, the NIPD's reports, the environmental, erosion controls, after storm events, everything in there, more environmental and monitoring, siltation, mitigation measures, soil stabilization measures, similar to what they're doing in the Blackstone logistic project.
Correct.
When it comes to engineering calculations and that type of review, they don't have that capability.
Okay.
So are you looking for a vote, or is it enough for us to say that we as a board, the Conservation Commission, it is our recommendation and preference that they use Ecotech in accordance with this proposal?
I think, to give just a fair scope that, that if the board recommends that, then I can bring that up at the meeting tomorrow and then have all parties show up at the 5th.
Okay.
In case they have questions on the scope and proposal before you officially vote on it. But I can let them know that it's your consensus that you're going to be moving forward with this, if that's what your wish is, and not their, well, they can certainly hire their environmental person too.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, we're thinking of both.
What are you talking about when you're talking about some meeting tomorrow?
I think there's a meeting with the community development director and the building commissioner and myself and the CRG to discuss their environmental monitoring and their pretty much what their intentions are on who they're hiring and what's their process for overseeing the project and their consultants.
Great. I mean, because that should be underway already. They've already started, they already did clearing, so it should have already begun.
That's why we had people in last meeting, on this October 17th, we had CRG in to kind of go over this, and I guess it was because there was some confusions on our part when I went out there on inspecting the erosion control, so the Beals and Thomas went out there and they actually did an additional review of the erosion controls, the silt fence. They surveyed it in to make sure before they did any tree clearing that they did some pre-monitoring, but that aspect of the project was in compliance and the location was correct, and then they came and gave an update at the last meeting.
Right.
And in between, they were supposed to hammer out this third-party environmental monitoring company that the company was going to use, but We haven't gotten any inspections from them yet, so the meeting tomorrow is gonna hammer that out, who they're using, and then I'd like to preempt it by saying that if the commission's wish, that they like to have Equitech on board also.
Okay, sounds good.
So I don't think any clearing is gonna start. I mean, not clearing, but any earthwork is gonna start until this is hammered out.
That would be appropriate. What about stumping and grubbing? Has that started?
But that hasn't, to my knowledge, it hasn't. When I went out there last weekend, I didn't see any of that work started.
Because that should not have started either.
No, I think all they did was clear.
Okay. So again, Steve, you don't need a vote, just knowing that it is our consensus that they use our recommended reviewer in accordance with this
That's
proposal?
fine.
Okay, excellent, thank you. All right, item number 6 is a request for a certificate of compliance for 134 Southeast Main Street. We have a video for that, and do we have anyone speaking for 134 Southeast Main?
Margaret might be here tonight.
She is here, but she is not, she is shaking her head that she is not speaking for 134 Southeast Main.
Okay, so this came in front of the committee, this should be an ad-hoc plan. This came in front of the commission about 18 months ago before the pandemic. And there was, let me see if I can bring the video up.
It's a year ago.
There's an issue on it's a kind of, almost a common driveway that comes into this property. I don't know if you can see the video.
Yep,
So the house on the right is the one asking for the certificate of compliance. As I pause it here, there's two driveways, one to the right and one to the left. Up until these stakes, up to here, this is actually on the property on the right. And so when he was in about 18 months ago, this was really dirt. There was no riprap. Now it's got grinding, and the commission wanted this more stabilized at the time.
yes.
So the as-built plan is from civil site, has been submitted. It's in the folder, it's the same plan. Commission really didn't go forward because they wanted more stabilization where I'm walking right now. I hope it's not choppy, but
It is choppy, but we're used to it.
Looks good, though.
so I thought everything looked very well clean and neat and pretty much well established.
Yep,
And then I'm off the property, I'm on to the other order of conditions on the left, and everything else is on the, associated with this property here.
so there's no variation in the plan, it's just that and I remember we were looking for more stuff to be done, and that stuff has been done now.
You have the trees, you planted the trees along the center line,
Very pretty.
some reground chips, little riprap swell along the right hand side.
Okay. Any comments from the board?
Looks good to me.
So is that like another driveway that he was walking up, or what is, oh, okay.
It's a double wide. It's like a boulevard.
Yeah.
It really is.
The two-way, yeah.
They didn't want to share.
They did not want to share, that's correct.
Oh, okay. Didn't expect to be. Right. All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve certificate of compliance.
Yep.
Steve, does it look, I'm sorry.
Nope, go ahead, absolutely.
It seems like I have a big plan here. I'm not sure if it's on that plan. But it shows that the grading extended beyond the purple line at the back of the property. Is that closer to the wetlands than what was allowed? Behind the well?
That was, I was concentrating on the driveway because that was the only thing that came up at the,
At
After the last
time we
time.
discussed it, yeah.
I know these are 1 foot contours and not, but I think that was the thing, why it was so much red, because I think the contour lines was really 1 foot, but honestly, I don't remember that being a issue of concern at the last meeting. And where it says proposed well,
Yeah.
looks like the 114 contour.
The 114 contour, and then the other contours on, looks like another property. So I guess that's outside of this jurisdiction or outside of the scope. But
Could be, yeah. There could be the other order of conditions
On the back?
to the left, yeah, where that shit, the driveway on the left was backed up and around. Just gotta bring it up. So I have it on the screen here.
So that, anything to the left,
Of the
beyond
property
the black line, is the other property and not part of this certificate of compliance request.
Everything on the left of the property line, I know, that's, kind of goes right through the Z in the zone,
Yep.
buffer zone. Everything to the left is the other property.
So like the propane tank though, the propane tank is shown to be on this property. And that is beyond what was, I think, proposed as the construction limits.
It is outside the construction limits. They just plopped it there.
Which, you know, is still outside of 50 feet, it looks like. So not a really big deal, but just
Yeah, and I couldn't remember whether we discussed that last time we looked at this plan or not.
but the driveway looks good, so. I'm
Looks
fine with
very
it.
good.
I'm fine with it. I'm
Okay.
just-
No, it's worth asking, absolutely. I'm continuing to entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the certificate of compliance request for 134 Southeast Main Street.
Motion made by Mark,
Second.
seconded by Mike. Roll call vote.
Eric Harris, aye.
Joe Fitzpatrick, aye.
Mike Greco, aye.
Mark Mangum,
All right, thank you. Next item 7 is request for certificate of compliance for 149 Southeast Main Street, Dave McKenzie. Is there someone representing that address? Excellent.
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
Is this good right here?
Beautiful.
Okay. Okay, for the record, Margaret Bacon, Civil Site Engineering, and I'm here requesting a certificate of compliance for for wetland crossing for our client, Mr. McKenzie, at 149 Southeast Main Street. I don't know if the board had a chance to get out there and take a look at this, or Steve, you want to bring up a video or...
Yeah, sure.
What's that?
Fine.
Okay, so basically, this was a wetland crossing we did a couple years ago. Site stable, everything was installed pretty much exactly how it's supposed to be. Culverts, elevation and location, dead on. The replication area is growing and seems to be thriving as is. Here's the in red is the as-built driveway, and then there was the proposed driveway. And then the area up here is outside of the buffer zone, but the house is pretty much as designed. Location and septic is right where it was designed. So basically, all the areas that we filed a notice of intent for was right here, the wetland crossing and the replication areas. And then we put in a three-sided box culvert here.
Yep.
And then the two replication areas.
Where's the replication area? Is it part of?
Actually, I had to replicate 2,100, or actually 2,400 square feet. So instead of disturbing a whole big area, I tried to keep the disturbance adjacent to the driveway. Okay, so I kind of split it into part here and then another smaller replication over on this side.
When was it planted?
Over 2 years ago.
And you said the plant material looks good?
Oh, absolutely. Actually, I did all the planting several years ago. And usually what happens is probably 50% of those plants will survive. But what you really want is the native plants to come in, you know, and they're the ones that actually coming in quite healthy. And a lot of the plants we planted actually are coming along pretty good. The some arrowwood and winterberry. But what we also did too on this driveway crossing here is instead of doing, we had 2-to-1 slopes, and instead of doing rock or walls, actually we vegetated it. We used a lot of willow tubulars. I don't know if you ever seen those. They just insert the willows in, and then a lot of willow plantings along the slopes. And also we included a wetland hydro seed mix. And I have some pictures in this report, and that stabilizes the slope instead of using a hard rock retaining wall and riprap. And actually, here's they're beautiful, actually. First time I used those tubers, I was quite impressed. So I've got a couple other jobs in the works doing the same thing.
Nice.
If the cable can make me the host so I can share my screen, that'd be great.
Probably.
I had to restart my Zoom.
Okay. It was interesting because I was trying to remember if I was here when you put in this rule, because it looks very similar to other wetland crossings you've done. It's just like several other. Oh wow, that did come in really nice. This picture was obviously taken when we were, well, I don't know, actually, how close to the drought was the picture taken?
Geez, I've been taking pictures throughout since I built that.
Okay.
We built that thing, so I think that was done this year.
Okay. I was just going to
Yeah.
say, the vegetated side of the driveway is very green.
Well, you know what we did too, and this was a contractor's idea, actually, when we hydroseeded the slopes. We threw in a wetland seed mix in with the hydroseed instead of that conservation seed mix.
Okay.
So, you know, it came out pretty nice, actually. And then the plantings and the willows, like I say, they, with their root system, stabilizes the slope. And as you can see, there's nothing wrong with those slopes. Certainly better than, you know, rock.
Okay. No, I absolutely agree. Board? If there are no comments, I will entertain a motion to, I will entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we approve the certificate of compliance for 149 Southeast Main Street.
Second.
Motion made by Mike, seconded by Mike. Roll call vote.
Eric Harris, aye.
Joe Fitzpatrick, aye.
Mike Greco, aye.
Mark Mangumai.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Margaret.
Yeah.
All right, number 8, request for certificate of compliance on 80 West Street, George and Pamela Camuso. Do we have somebody for 80 West Street? I'll find it. I can see that, I know Steve has a video for this one as well.
I do. I'm having trouble bringing up the videos for some reason on the Zoom. But this was approved, the septic repair was approved, I think, a couple months ago in the front yard right along West Street.
I know the property.
There is an as-built plan in the file,
Yeah, I'm looking at the file now.
and there's one in the desk all the as-built plans are in the desk right next to Mark, if you want to look at them.
That's a good place for him.
I didn't see anything out of the ordinary. Most of the work was to the front and not, a little bit on the side of the house. There was a little bit of a wetland in the back of the yard. Everything was outside the 50. Everything was grass was growing. Let's see if I can.
So since I don't remember this plan, there's a 50-foot buffer. The edge of the lawn is on the edge of the wetlands. Was that area already cleared?
It was. That
Okay.
was brought up. That was brought up, during the public hearing. I think the house is probably built in the 70s.
Oh, so what was this plan? Oh, it was a septic.
Septic repair.
It's a septic
It's just a
repair.
septic. Okay. All right, well, I'll give you a minute to look at it, but otherwise I'll entertain the motion.
I move that we approve the septic repair plan for certificate of compliance for 80 West Street.
Second.
Motion made by Mark, seconded by Mike. Roll call vote.
Eric Harris, aye.
Joe Fitzpatrick, aye.
Mike Greco, aye.
Mark Mangumai.
All right, thank you. And then 9, request for certificate of compliance for Cedar Street Bridge. This is like the bridge.
It's the bridge.
The bridge.
yeah.
Anybody here representing the bridge on Cedar Street? I think we've all had a chance to probably see it by now, though.
You've seen it. It looks better, a lot better than it used to.
Right?
Yeah.
There were people working on next to it over the weekend.
Really?
There was some type of survey. I noticed. I took a video of it.
Oh, thanks.
Bring it up. Yeah, there was. I don't know who those people were, Mark. I noticed them too.
I don't know.
There was some type of survey crew. I think Jim Noyes is here from the civil engineer.
We don't have a plan here of that.
There is.
It's not in the file folder.
Uh-oh. Let me see if I got it electronically. It's not that does you guys any good, though. I do have it as a PDF.
You have it? Is it on that?
It's in the email. It doesn't do anyone else any good but me.
I can bring it up.
It's an as-built and there's nothing in red.
It's not a good sign.
So either it's not in color or it's perfect.
Yeah, exactly. Right on. Guess we have to approve it then.
The file name says it's the as-built.
You sure you're not in black and white?
Can you see it on the screen?
Yes, that is the thing that I am looking at.
Look at you.
Jim, are you there?
I'm relatively certain that Jim is not here.
I see him on the Zoom.
Oh. Apologies.
He's muted. He is up there. Come on, Jim.
Does Jim know, is he up there?
Yeah, I see.
Yep.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I apologize. Every time I use Zoom, the first time I log on, nobody can hear me. I have to log off and log back on, and I apologize for that.
Yeah, do you want to talk about the bridge and the asphalt, any variances?
Yeah, I did hear the first part of that conversation. The contractor was installing 4 bounds, and they were doing a little, there's 3 punch list items, none of which entail working outside the bridge. So those are the people you probably saw was the surveyors installing 4 bounds along the layout. We're having the contractor also about to install washers on the guardrail that goes across the bridge. So that's probably some of the work you've seen. And there's a couple of signs further on north that they have to adjust to. So those are the 3 punch list items, and I'm sure that's what they were out there for. Yeah, the bridge is, other than that, the bridge is now complete. They did great work out there, and we're requesting, the certificate of compliance. We did have the original order conditions. We had 490 square feet of temporary wetland impact that, if you've been out there, the wetland species, especially on the west side, they're starting to, they're growing. The northwest side is, that's really good vegetation on the northwest side. The northwest. The southwest side, it's coming in too. And then the other side too. I don't know, Steve, did you have a video on?
Is my video coming up on this at all, or?
No.
We just see the plan, a black and white plan.
All right. For some reason the videos will not.
Yeah, I had a few pictures, but with my ability on Zoom, hard enough to get the audio to work.
Yeah, the videos, it's not having me to share any videos tonight. Let's see if I can try it one more time.
You're getting it.
Is this video coming up?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, very nice.
Jim, can you see the video at all?
I can, yes.
All right. I'll try to speed it up a little. There we go.
Oh, Lord. Put the year on the bridge, of the wildlife just leave. If you're standing in the water, you can see what year.
I think the replication temporary is on the other side, right, Jim?
No, it was on this side, yeah. This is the northwest side. I had pictures from a couple of months ago from September which showed it really filling in green and all. It was on the northwest and the southwest side, so the sides that you were just on. This side here, we just had the bank of the river. They did a great job. There's the stone wall that goes into the sluiceway going into the mill. They reconstructed that stone wall, did a really good job on it.
have any comments? So there are 3 things on a punch list you're still working?
Yeah, I know, I was talking to John Furno today, and he was mentioning they were putting the washers on the guardrail that's attached to the culvert, right, as where the large beam is there, going across the culvert. They forgot the washers where the guardrail's attached to the concrete above.
Okay.
So they were doing that work today, and I was told they've done a couple of the bounds, which are to the north and to the south of the bridge. There's 4 bounds total, all of them outside the wetlands. They're told they're not quite finished on those. And there's a couple of signs as you go around the corner way up north, they've got to readjust the signs. But that's all that's left on the punch list.
Okay.
Steve, are you satisfied with how it looked?
I am. You know, I've been monitoring the whole time, so, you know, I guess they had some good weather to put a bridge in over the last summer, but everything else seems to be working pretty fine. I mean, it's hard to tell. We haven't had any significant rains, but it seems to be in pretty good shape.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, board, I was going to say, I'll entertain a motion and or just ask. I mean, I don't think anything on that punch list affects this board, so I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the certificate of compliance for the bridge, Cedar Street Bridge, DP number 1431019.
Second.
Motion made by Mark, seconded by Mike. Roll call vote.
Eric Harris, aye.
Joe Fitzpatrick, aye.
Mike Greco, aye.
Mark Mangum,
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Sure. All right, new business, item number 10, 7 PM, public hearing, DEP 1431063, notice of intent for 274 U Street. I have to read the legal notice to you all. Town of Douglas Conservation Commission, 29 Depot Street, Douglas, Mass. Legal notice for public hearing pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act. The Town of Douglas Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on November 7, 2022 at 7 PM for a notice of intent filed by Andrew Vargas located at 274 U Street for work to be done pursuant to the Town of Douglas Wetland Bylaw and Wetland Protection Act, MGL 131, Section 40. The proposed work involved minor construction and clearing activities within the 100-foot buffer zone of the bordering vegetated wetlands. Public participation will be available by attending the meeting at the Town of Douglas Municipal Center located at 29 Depot Street, Douglas, Mass., or pursuant to Governor Baker's June 16, 2021 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, GL 30A18. The public may participate in this meeting via remote participation. A website for the meeting will be provided on the conservation agenda posted on the town's website on douglasmad.gov at least 48 hours prior to the meeting. Copies of the notice of intent may be examined electronically by contacting the Conservation Commission at 508-476-4000, extension 205. This was posted October 20, 2022.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Margaret Bacon, and I'm here with my client, Andrew Vargas, and we're here. I believe, I guess we could call this an after-the-fact notice of intent for 274 U Street. This is a job that, a new house that was constructed a couple years ago. We did the septic and the as-built, and that came before the commission a couple years ago, and that was permitted and closed out. And then Mr. Vargo purchased this house, was it last year?
It was in December of last year, yeah,
Okay.
almost a year ago.
And and then he wanted to do some additional work, and he contracted a landscaper, and I'll let him explain what happened, but he tried to do everything the right way, and he was kind of misled. And so we ended up with a situation where there was some additional work that was done that was not permitted. So, Andrew, I'll let you just briefly explain what happened.
Sure. So it all started back in April. We had a thunderstorm earlier in the year, and there was a tree that broke that was leaning right up against the house. It was caught up on a tree, so we had a tree guy come in and do emergency services to remove that from falling on the house because it was snagged on a tree. So in removing that broken limb, we got to a conversation. The gentleman's name was Josh King. And Josh, I mentioned to him, you know, hey, we were thinking about maybe expanding our lawn, but we know we have wetlands in the backyard. And Josh said, yeah, I can do this. We'll get the board's approval. We'll go in front of the commission, no problem. That was a complete lie. We were conned by this arborist, and what ended up happening was at the end of the project, I actually was the one who reached out to Steve, and I said, Steve, you know, I've been working with Josh King, and Steve says to me, I have no idea who Josh King is. So I said, Steve, I can't even imagine that's true. I have not heard from Josh King since that conversation. Actually, the original text message references Steve Zisk's name that he said to me. And he said, Steve was out here, we did a video chat with the board, all got approved. And obviously, that wasn't what ended up happening. So here we are.
Yeah, so basically, what was approved under the original septic, here's the 50-foot buffer zone, and then you know how we put in a wood fence typically at the buffer zone, and then we had a bunch of native shrubs along that fence. Well, what happened in this yellow hatched area, everything got moved back, so the fence got relocated to back here, along with all the shrubs that were planted got relocated to the rear here. So there's an area here that's about...
Wait, they dug up and moved the shrubs?
We moved the shrubs back, yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just impressed.
So this yellow hatched area, then he also put in a little a stone pad for a proposed shed. Okay, and then again, like I said, here's the 50-foot buffer zone. So this is the area that got disturbed.
Yeah.
Okay, so Mr. Vargas, like he said, this is now stable and it's vegetated. It's pretty much
Is the
lawn.
video on the screen?
No, we're looking at File Explorer and Windows.
And the other thing that Josh mentioned was, you know, the board was okay with it so long as we put in the silt fencing and hay bales along the new area.
I mean, those are common orders of conditions. An imaginary board would have probably said that. The
And
board that he met with in another dimension
Right.
probably would have recommended that.
Exactly.
Yes, too bad that video won't come up because that'll pretty much
Show that,
show
yeah.
it.
Is it coming up? Not coming up.
No,
Was that area treed that got expanded, or was
there were some trees and shrubs, mostly shrubbery. Like I said, here's the wetland back here. So this is probably roughly about the 25-foot zone where the fence got moved back to. So I know when I was in there, a lot of huckleberry, some high bush blueberry, and there were some trees that did get removed. I don't think there's a whole lot of them, but
Were they trees that would have provided shade?
They were, I'm not sure what type of tree they were.
There's a thing that we watch out for when you're this close to a wetland, because you're right up on it, is,
yes.
yes, we have the video now.
So go ahead, Margaret. No.
So basically, there's a couple other improvements that Mr. Vargas did. Yeah, on the right-hand side, he put in for some drainage, because it is a wet site.
Okay.
And so he put in a little drainage swale
Yeah, there
with
was-
stone.
There was erosion off of the driveway before I was able to establish the lawn, so I put that in order to mitigate that.
This video show was there currently.
Steve was here last weekend, yeah.
See the well?
Oh, yeah, I did.
So you can use that as a reference.
So there's the well.
That's where the old fence line was.
The old fence line basically went to where the front of the shed pad is laid out as well.
logs in that pile there are mostly from the dead tree you were talking about when you said, oh, initially there was a broken tree that was leaning towards the house.
Yes, that tree is in there. Yep.
Okay. So that was a pretty good sized tree.
Several pretty good sized trees.
Okay, so we're thinking there are multiple larger trees in this area.
Yes.
Okay. Because what I'm thinking, and I want to hear what the board thinks as well, is that I would really like to see a planting of another shade providing something in that area, but I also want to respect the fact that it's close to your house, and that was the reason why you had to remove the tree that was there.
Right.
So,
We're definitely open to putting some of the trees back.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just I want to get shade back over that wetlands area because that sunlight coming through is going to be incredibly damaging to that resource area.
Whether it be behind the fence or in front of the fence.
It would have to be in front of the fence, unfortunately, because your fence is right on the line right now.
Okay. That would be okay.
Okay. Board thoughts, and then we would need to be more specific about what kind of tree we're looking for and how many.
Sure.
Yeah, and then also the proposed shed location.
Okay.
Okay.
I will let the board, I'll hear the board's thoughts, but I personally don't have issue with the shed location.
So this is a notice of intent.
Correct, after the fact.
So your notice of intent is just to propose what has been done.
Correct, and how to move forward from this point.
So what are the dots, the green and the red dots? Have they been?
Those are the-
Those are the bushes that you
Correct.
moved from where the fence was to where the fence is now?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
So those original trees were in front of the fence that got taken down?
Yeah, so the original trees would be in that yellow area.
Oh, okay.
But the
Yeah.
trees that, the place where I potentially want planting is in that yellow area, because I don't want them to make any further disturbance into the wetlands. Because looking at this plan, you can see it says relocated fence, and there's a tree line there, and that is the edge of the wetlands. The next orange line is a 50-foot buffer. So I don't want to see any activity on the far side of that fence.
Yeah, we stopped doing that immediately.
Yeah, no.
Talking to Steve.
Appreciate that you didn't realize you were having a violation in your own backyard.
I would suggest, as you did, that we should propose or request them to replant some trees,
Yep.
Sure.
some significant trees in that area. But I would suggest also that the shed be moved forward because it's only 17 feet from the edge of the wetland on
Okay.
this plan. And, you know, we usually don't allow things within 25
right
feet,
on
any
the-
structures within 25
The
feet.
foot.
So
Okay.
I would definitely want it outside the 25-foot buffer.
So the stone pad actually is 8 feet from where the edge of where the fence was relocated to. It's just the shed pad goes all the way back there. So there's
Okay.
another 8 feet from the line.
Where does 25 feet put you?
25 feet would be right about where we planned to put it, actually.
No, what if I had the back of the shed was 25 feet from the edge of the wetland?
Yeah, that wouldn't be that far from where it is right now.
Okay, would we amend, yeah.
So
Well, I mean, I'd like the pad and the shed to be outside of the 25.
You want the pad to be outside?
Not just the shed.
The pad and the shed outside the 25-foot buffer zone.
Okay.
I think he's got room to do that.
Okay,
did,
good.
Yeah.
I mean, and don't just go 25 feet 1 inch. If you can move it a little bit further, please do. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, we could do 26 feet, 27 feet, whatever.
Yes.
I mean, why can't it be up to the 50-foot line?
So, I mean, we'd love to keep it as far back as possible, because then we're just going to have a dead area behind there.
Well, we can stick a tree back there.
There is bushes back there.
Okay.
Tree, right, as well. But we could put a tree behind it as well after we move it. That would be more than reasonable, I think, as well.
All right, do we want to set a number for the shed? We know we want at least 25, but the property owner is saying probably less than 50.
It would be great, I mean, if the board approves it, that would be wonderful, but
What size is the shed?
it's 10 by 16. And it's not there right now.
Right,
because
the
we
pad
have that.
there, when we would be moving that. Thoughts?
So it's a 16 deep?
It's
Shed 16 deep?
16 deep, yeah.
Margaret's proposing 30. I have a 50 and I have a 30.
The front of the deck is going to be, if you're 16 feet and the 17, that's going to put you 33 feet to the front.
Well, you want it so that like you drive off the driveway and that's the front of the shed, right?
Actually, we were hoping to avoid that if possible,
Oh,
believe
okay.
it or not, because,
Which is why it's as far back as it is.
No, what I'm saying is you're 17 feet to the bushes now. And the shed is 16 feet, so if you put it right at that 17, the front of the shed's going to be at 33 feet off the wetlands. So how far do you want to move it? The back
I want
is what
the
you-
back
you
of the
want
shed.
back off it.
the back of the shed is what you're talking
I
about.
want the back of the
Should
shed.
be, the front of the shed should be over that 50-foot mark, there's no doubt about it.
The front of the shed should be over the 50. So then that puts the back of the shed at,
Because you got to add, you get 17
34.
feet,
Yeah.
another 8. Yeah, another 8 feet roughly to get you to 25 foot of the back of the shed. So that would make the front at 33 and 8. Yeah, you're
but we're gonna try and do better than that. So we're saying that if we put the front of the shed at 50, the back of the shed would be at 34.
right.
And would allow for some trees to go behind it.
We could definitely put a tree behind the
Well-
shed, yeah.
34? No, if you did 8 feet right now, it's going to put it 25 feet.
Well, we're saying if the front of the shed, and the shed is 16 deep, 50 minus 16 is 34.
Yeah, okay, all right, yeah, so that would be.
At least 34. Okay, so now I want to discuss the number and the type of trees. Definitely we're looking for something that's native. That's always something that's going to provide some shade, but I understand if you don't want to go with something that's going to be horribly tall because your house is right there.
See, red maples.
You're thinking maples?
Red maples, yeah.
Red maples.
There's a red maples there now anyway, so I would suggest that. Red maples, I don't get it.
Do you like red maples?
I don't even know what a red maple looks like. Can I Google it real quick?
Well, they like their feet wet, so it's the right spot.
I agree.
Okay.
Red maple?
Red maple is what we're proposing at this point. Okay. They're for pretty.
I love pretty red maples. That'd be great.
Aren't they all?
So does Zach. He loves pretty red maple.
That's good.
It'll be good.
How many?
5 or 6?
And we can put one of the 5
One
or
of them
6
will be
behind the shed.
All right, we're
Well, I'm
gonna,
thinking that's a good spot for him, because that gives you the the greatest distance from the corner of your house.
Right.
If they're at 25 feet, the house is at 80 feet roughly, 85 feet. So, I mean, that allows a pretty good sized tree before it's going to fall on the house. It's going to fall on the driveway maybe, but not on the house.
I will let you figure out where it makes sense to locate those maples
Yeah.
within this yellow space.
Okay.
All right, anything else, board? They've got the shrubs in there that were in the original plan, so.
They all survived as well. They were planted in November, so that's why they were easy to move.
I'm just impressed, impressed that somebody didn't make the time to come to the board, but did move the shrubs.
And got hay bales.
Yeah, it did
Video chat
everything else that
with
would have
the
made
board in our
sense
backyard.
without actually making it without doing the filing.
I was out there, I was psychedelic, it was like, what am I looking at?
Look at something that looks like it got approved.
Well, it was a mirror image of what I just went out and saw about 6 months earlier. I could not believe the guy did what he did. It looked almost exactly, you would never have known what he did. Credit to the homeowner for calling it out.
Thank you. Like Margaret said, we were trying to do it right from the
I
very
appreciate
get-go.
it. No, absolutely.
And it's really an unfortunate situation, but we're happy to readjust the shed pad and make
Okay.
this.
So yeah, board, I've got in here that the path and the shed have to be at least 34 feet from the wetlands. There will be 6 red maples added somewhere in the yellow highlighted area with the recommendation at least one of them be behind the shed. Is there anything else you want to add? Otherwise, I can entertain that motion.
Are you saying?
Also, I have to entertain a motion to close the public hearing first. Sorry, go ahead.
Are you okay if we put 2 behind the shed as well?
Yeah.
Like, that would be better?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Actually, because this is a public hearing, is there anyone from the public who wants to speak on 274 U Street?
Zachary does.
Just that. I'll
I'll entertain.
I would just get an update. I mean, I'm fine with closing and approving, but just before I do the order of conditions, that is a revised plan with everything you're gonna state.
Sure. Okay.
Margaret is nodding.
Yep. Will do, Steve.
Thank you.
I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Motion made by Mike,
Second.
seconded by Eric. Roll call vote.
Eric Harris, aye.
Joe Fitzpatrick, aye.
Mike Greco, aye.
Mark Mangemi.
All right, I will entertain a motion to approve the notice of intent for 274 U Street with the added conditions that the patent shed will be 34 feet at least from the wetlands, and there will be the addition of 6 red maples in the highlighted area.
So moved.
Moved by Mike, seconded by Eric. Roll call vote.
Eric Harris, aye.
Joe Fitzpatrick, aye.
Mike Greco, aye.
Mark Mangemi.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate it, everyone.
We appreciate you.
Sort of, right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Item number 11, 7 PM, public hearing, notice intent lot 2R on Birch Street, assessors map 146, parcel 26.1, new single family dwelling, Judy Barron. I'm gonna read the legal notice to open the lot. It's also included with lot 3. Town of Douglas Conservation Commission, 29 Depot Street, Douglas, Mass. Legal notice for public hearing pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act. The Town of Douglas Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on November 7, 2022 at 7 PM for 2 notice of intent filed by Judy Barron on lot 2R and 3R Birch Street near house number 27 for work to be done pursuant to the Town of Douglas Wetland Bylaw Law and the Wetland Protection Act, MGL 131, Section 40. The proposed work involves developing 2 lots with single-family houses, septic systems, wells, and associated landscaping. Public participation will be available by attending the meeting at the Town of Douglas Convention Center located at 29 Depot Street, Douglas, Mass, or pursuant to Governor Baker's 2021 order suspending provisions of the open meeting law, Federal Law 3818. The public may participate in this meeting via remote participation. The website for the meeting will be provided on the conservation agenda posted on the town's website at least 48 hours prior to the meeting. Copies of the notice and may be examined electronically by contacting the Conservation Commission, 508-476-4000, Extension 205. This was posted on the 27th of October, 2022. Name and address for the record.
Good evening. Okay. Just passing out more copies. I wasn't sure if you had PDFs on screen. My name is Robert Murphy, Murphy Associates Environmental Consultants, and I have been asked to represent Judy Barron, who owns the 2 lots. They now have numbers 19 and 21. Lot. The
Wait,
plans,
respectively? Is
yeah,
lot-
the plans that you see up above here, 2R is closest to the house. That's number 21.
Okay.
And kind of goes opposite of what the way the numbers work.
All right.
At this time, we have done the perk tests, and the septic system has been designed and approved by the Douglas Board of Health. Steve Donatelli, the agent, has approved, reviewed them, and it's been approved by the board. This applies to both sites. They each has its own septic system, and the location of the well has been approved. I'm here tonight because we have 2 lots that are located within the 100-foot buffer zone of bordering vegetated wetlands adjacent to this property. The site is located on the east side of Birch Street, and the wetlands is to the east of the site. Majority of the rear portion of the site is wetland. The lots are quite large, so there's plenty of upland area on both of them. If you look at the topography down from the road, it's fairly steep coming down from Birch Street. So what we did was to develop what we essentially call a horizontal type layout with rectangular site design, where we have a fairly long driveway coming down at the slope. One of the lots is 11, another one's 11.5% slope. Both of them are roughly in the area of 11% slopes. And we have located the house right on the 50-foot setback buffer zone line, so that the buildings, septic systems, the wells, all the structures are outside of the 50-foot buffer zone. In order to develop the driveways the way we have on them, it's a fairly narrow area to work with. We drop them pretty quickly. We have 2-to-1 slopes, vegetated slopes, going down to, in this case here, the driveway goes pretty close to the 25-foot buffer zone. There's no work within the 25-foot buffer zone on any of the lots. The idea here is that we wanted to control the drainage on the slope. So we also have a tremendous amount of boulders. The site is completely covered with 1,000-pound stones. So we figured we'd put that to use rather than develop concrete walls or anything like that. We'll take the boulders that are there, and the idea is to develop a boulder wall that's a 101 slope. So I've built dozens of these. Essentially, the way it works is, if you look at the detail, you have a large infiltration area with riprap 2-inch stone behind the wall. So as the drainage runoff comes down the slope, it hits the wall, it doesn't go over the wall, it doesn't go through the wall. It essentially gets recharged right at the wall into the ground with a fairly substantial amount of infiltration material. And that's one of the best management practices that we have here. Another BMP is to show a filter strip, an infiltration filter strip right along the lower side of the driveway. And what that does is slows the drainage down before it runs over vegetated slopes. And it also acts as an infiltration area. The soil here was Canton, Paxton, fine sandy loam mix. Perk rate was in the area of 5 to 10 minutes an inch, so it's pretty good soil.
Where is this infiltration located again? Where is this infiltration area located
This,
again?
right at beside the driveway, you'll see a filter strip running along the driveway. You may have the original drawing.
Is it a detail, or is it shown on the plan? I can't tell.
You have the...
It's right where the boulder kind of comes out with the driveway. You'll see it right there.
Just above.
ETC. See where the house is? Come back from the house, follow that line. You'll see
I'm
it.
going to give you a copy of the...
I see an E,
Plan.
and then I see an ET and C on the plan. That's it?
No, what you have is, you have a copy of the original plan that was submitted that did not have the infiltration, what we call a filter strip. It's actually on the screen behind you, but I'm going to give you a copy.
Oh, yeah, that
Yeah,
is
that's
different.
right. That's what
I'll
it's
give
showing.
you a copy of, here's a copy. See, when Steve did his review, he mentioned that he wanted to see more erosion controls. So I added, as an erosion control, I added the filter strip. So what you have now in front of you is the latest plan that was submitted to Steve. So we have two lines of defense here, essentially all along the lower side of the driveway. You have an infiltration strip. Then you have a vegetated slope, and which goes into basically a boulder wall. It does not incorporate any man-made materials. There's no mortar, there's no steel. The wall is a gravity wall, essentially built the same way the Egyptians built their pyramids. Gravity holds the wall together, and until someone knocks it over, it's going to stay there. Very, very sound. And again, it doesn't require a building permit because it's a 45-degree angle. And actually, kids like to climb up these things. I've noticed they get pretty good at it. But the idea here is that we're showing plantings all along the lower slopes to replace basically pine trees, oak trees. We have a lot of shrubs we put in as well for the essentially native shrubs to replace the trees and shrubs that are being removed within the buffer zone. I've added mountain laurel because of the slope, and it's an acid soil out there, so there is no mountain laurel growing there right now, but I added it because it has a good root system and it holds the slopes very well. Winterberry holly, high bush blueberry, those plants are there, they're native, and we've added that as well. So what we're essentially doing is we're jump-starting the native vegetation, but the slopes that we're working on within 2 years, pretty much the natural vegetation, native vegetation from the area will propagate these slopes probably more than what we have out there now. So the idea is, you could see where the vegetation is trees and shrubs, that area is to be left pretty much undeveloped. again, it's a temporary disturbance in the buffer zone area, but it's to be developed as a buffer, vegetative buffer strip to be left in its proposed state. The storage area was added. A few things I could mention that were added here. We put a double row of erosion controls along the site to act. We feel that that's enough in that area because it's fairly level below that. The stockpile of storage material it's actually it's outside of the buffer zone, but we're showing it, in this case, we're showing it with erosion controls below it. And also where the proposed well is, where we're showing a sump in that area so that the tailings from the drill well don't end up going down the slope. One of the questions that Steve had in his review was how would the well truck get in there? So basically, the way this site would be developed is to develop a rough grade, the driveway with gravel, and the stone base for the driveway would be put in, and that would be adequate for the well truck to get in. Essentially, you have to have a good well. You've got to have a drilled well with the approved water quality prior to getting any building permits. So the well has to be developed first. So it would be the driveway, the well, and then the house. Septic system could be done at the same time as the house. That's up to the contractor. One point that has to be made here is that Judy Barron is planning on selling these lots to either a homeowner or a contractor. I would really advise this to be a contractor's lot because of the construction involved. So the buildings that you see, location of a deck, front walk, things like that, they're pretty much generic for the site. And I would say that in the orders, conditions that you have, you could basically make a condition that if there are any major changes proposed by the potential buyer, future buyer, that if it was a major change, it would have to be reviewed by the commission. You know, in other words, I am envisioning, just from my experience, if I were to own the property, and from the engineering experience I've had with developing land, this is pretty much the best way to go about it. So the septic system and the well would have to go where they are on the plan, that there's no room for movement on that. But things like someone might want a bigger house or something. But again, I'm showing the house 50 feet away from the wetland as a requirement. There are no structures within 50 feet. And the way the wall is to be constructed, it's a boulder wall. It fits in very nicely with the environment in this area because the site is completely covered with boulders now. And I work with a lot of contractors who build stone walls, and this is one of the sites that they would be involved in, where large stones, very large stones, 1,500-pound, 2,000-pound stones are picked out, and they're used as a base. And then you have a second layer of stones, and they're generally 500 to 1,000 pounds. And they're all laid in very nicely. I mean, they're not, they don't teeter. They have to be, they have to be done properly. But that's the way I have it designed. Someone else might come along and say they want to do concrete. I don't particularly like to use.
Well, I mean, anytime somebody varies from an approved plan, that has to get approved. I mean, it would be
right. Okay, so that's an understanding. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, we'll just let you.
Did you bring copies for everybody?
Yeah, I brought updated.
But they're old ones. Oh, they're old ones?
Well, he has the old one and the new
We
one.
just got a new one.
All right, if you got the new one, I printed it out.
No, we got it.
Okay, yeah, I brought some new ones as well. That's pretty much it.
Okay.
I'd be happy to address any questions you might have.
For certain. No, this is, thank you. Thank you for talking us through it, and I mean, this is, plan's got some good detail on it. I don't have issue, although I think I personally would like to hear the board's thoughts and the rest of the board's thoughts, and a site with this type of sloping, I would think we'd be interested in doing a site walk.
Let me add a little bit to this. We don't have a DEP file number yet,
Oh, okay.
so we will be requesting to continue the hearing.
Okay.
So I'm here tonight basically to give you a heads up of what.
Yeah.
I don't have the review yet from DEP as well, so
Okay.
depending upon their comments, there may be a decision.
And we're not meeting again until December 5th.
Right, so we should have plenty of time, hopefully, to get a number by then.
Okay. Steve, are you back at your desk?
Yeah.
Does it make any difference, and I guess maybe I should ask the board as well, does it make any difference if we wait for the DEP review before we schedule a site walk?
Nope.
Doesn't?
No, I was, why the weather's good, I mistake it all out. And another thing.
Oh, yeah, that would be the problem. Yeah, go ahead.
As Bob is talking, is the construction sequence should really be nailed down and really detailed on the plan, exactly what you're clearing, when you're clearing it. And, the time of year is going to make a difference too. It's going to be a tough site to stabilize during the construction. So obviously, a lot of times they want to get in there and start framing houses when the site is a mess. So given this almost 12% slope and a construction protocol exactly on how they're maintaining the site would be prudent, I think.
First of all, let me explain, sometimes I take things just for granted when I'm doing this, but the soil here is a Paxton Canton mix, which you do not want to go in this site anytime before June, because the groundwater here just turns the soil to pancake batter.
Okay.
If you start driving equipment up and down a gravel driveway in this type of soil, it holds the water. It drains relatively well, but it holds water. So I will put some additional notes to that effect. But basically, this is what we call a slippery slope, is what we have here. We did our work with we had to actually go back and do some additional soil testing at the request of the Board of Health, because some of the flags and everything were missing. So we re-perked the site this year, which was great because we had a drought and it was dry. We dug holes.
Yeah.
We dug holes 8 feet deep and it was powder dry. It was like talcum powder,
Wow.
And that would be a great time to do this site. But had we gone in and, in the spring it was wet, the machine would have been sliding down the slope. So,
Okay.
So this, I will put, Steve's point is well taken. I will add additional construction sequence, but essentially nailing down the timing of this project. This site cannot be developed in the spring when the groundwater is high. It's just not that kind of a site.
Okay.
Another comment would be, I know across the street, it's a large hill. This Birch Street is bisecting a large hill, so to the west, it traverses up pretty
It
well.
drops off every direction, yeah.
Yeah, there was a house that was built up there, and just right across the street, I believe when they put the driveway in, they had an awful time with high groundwater runoff constantly. So is there any issues with just high groundwater runoff during the seasonal periods, just constantly bleeding into the site?
Well, No, the idea being, and I talked to the owner across the street. I went up there when they were doing the work. They did a lot of cuts into the side of the hill. In other words, they're on the uphill side of the road. So in order to get their house in, they had to cut into the groundwater on the slope, which is the opposite of what you want to do. Our situation is, we're not cutting the slope at all. We're filling the slopes. So everywhere that there are no, pretty much, if you look at where the house is going and the driveway is going, the driveway is filled all the way down.
Okay.
So we don't have that issue. But I met with the owner across the street because my problem was, I saw the water, he didn't seem to have a lot of stormwater management on the site, and the water was cascading down the driveway right across the street into our lot. So I believe they've done some additional work on that.
Very sensitive to that kind of thing.
They ran into some trouble with groundwater. We have the opposite situation where we'll be doing filling. But in order to get the trucks in and get the equipment in, do the land clearing, you do that before you do the filling. That's when you're going to run into trouble. So this is, like I say, this site should not be even started until well into May, June, depending upon the groundwater.
Right. Would you, I'm going to move on to talk about the site walk potentially, because we know we're going to continue this. Would you want to be present, or would you want the homeowner to be present for a site walk? I
would be present for the site walk. The homeowner, I mean, she'd probably want to come along, but she's not an engineer.
Okay.
I remember Steve had made a note about staking out the house.
Yeah.
We haven't staked out the house yet.
Okay.
So that's something that I would do with my surveyor.
Okay.
And
then the center line of the driveway is often something we look for.
Yeah, center line of the driveway, we'll do both lots at the same time.
Great.
And stake out the house, and because of we could actually stake out where the septic system is going as well.
Oh, yes, that would be helpful. And
could I also ask, because it's such an extensive fill, that you put a grade on a stake or show us what the fill is as you go partway down the driveway? Say elevation 614?
Well, we have existing grades and proposed grades, and I could just basically, when we walk down the driveway, I can show you, for instance, where we are at any particular point. You'll have the existing and proposed grade at that point. I can tell you how much fill is at any point, really. If you read the plan, you'll notice we've got the dark, heavy lines of the proposed grades over the dashed lines, which are existing. And you can interpolate pretty much anywhere on the plan what the depth is.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But again, we have benchmarks, different trees throughout the site.
Difference right there.
But I think what I could do is, when we stake out the driveway, I will show
That's what I'm concerned with down here.
existing and proposed grade
Okay.
on stakes, so you'll know.
That'd be fantastic.
Yeah.
That would absolutely be fantastic.
Yeah.
Board, and do we want to set a date? Do we know our availability? I guess I should be asking Robert you that question.
I'm pretty much open to what the commission, whatever the commission, I'm flexible. I realize that you folks have your lives to live, so I'll work around your schedule.
We do typically look at.
How long do you need to do the mark out?
To the staking, yeah.
I would say no earlier than, say, Saturday.
Okay.
And again, I'm not sure what days you want to go out, but I would need 3 days to get the surveyors up.
Oh, yeah, that's great, actually.
Way quicker than I expected.
Right, yeah, no, that's fantastic.
The only other thing I'd like to see is some kind of notes in there for your roof drains, because this thing has got such a pitch in the back.
Oh, okay.
How are you
Notes
gonna
for what? I
handle
didn't
that?
catch.
The roof drains.
Yeah, we didn't show stormwater management basically because they're single-family houses. But if you
No, so I'm
wanted to
not
have,
looking for full stormwater management, but you just, what's coming off the roof?
Yeah.
If you have it guttered, where are your downspouts and what's happening with that
You
water?
got a pretty good slope there, so just, if you get a torrential rain, it's gonna wash it right out.
yeah, well, we could, because we're doing filling here, and we're going to be filling it with gravel, it would not be a stretch for us to put in, we have these Caltech chambers, plastic chambers. We could run the drainage, roof drainage into these Caltech chambers, because we're, as I say, we're bringing in gravel fill, which is going to be a nice clean fill. For the cost of the site, it's really not prohibitive to, what we would end up having is, on the lower side of the house, so they have like, I would say, 2 rows of 3 Caltech chambers. Each of the chambers is roughly 8 feet long. So we have 6 chambers. They're 10 feet away, minimum 10 feet away from the foundation, but we could run the stormwater into that. And that would take care of what we call the first flush for any storm. So
Okay,
I'll add that to the plan.
I appreciate it.
Like I say, we're not going to meet till December 5th, so that gives me
Creates a
time.
cavity.
Yeah, no, I'm glad that you can work within that timeframe.
Yeah.
If I had my phone there, I could show you.
That'll be for both houses.
Well,
I kind of created a list, as you were talking, of some things that are of concern to myself, or that I would like to see further detailed. If you could show us an example of the type of wall, or point us in a direction of the type of wall that's being proposed. You said that you've done them many times.
Yeah, boulder walls. Oh, yeah.
If there's a way that you could do that.
Well, they're very...
I'd like us to keep the work outside of 25 feet. I'm seeing some of the erosion control is within the 25-foot area.
Well,
And
if you look at the erosion control, some of the lines say limit of work, and those are outside the 25-foot. The second, there is a row of erosion control that's partially within the 25-foot. That's a secondary, that's a secondary erosion control just as a protection. But we don't plan on doing any work there. That's just basically a second protection. You could push it closer.
the only erosion control that you're proposing, 9-inch wattles?
9-inch wattle, yes.
That's it.
Yeah, well, again.
That would be concerning to me, is that is the only erosion control that's being proposed for a site with this much fill going in and all the boulder walls and all that, is to only be proposing straw wattle, a 9-inch straw wattle is concerning to me.
Double rows of nice. Well, again, we have the option, and I agree with you, it's a steep slope, a lot of stonework. We have the option of using straw bales, staked straw bales, which are 2 feet high, and, you have a silt fence, goes right up, to the bale that holds the silt fence in place. That's another option we could use. I wouldn't use it all over the site, but in areas below, say, the wall where there's a fairly steep slope work, I could take out that line of erosion control that's within 25 feet and put staked straw bales right on the 25-foot line.
Well, what's behind that 25-foot line? I don't see any vegetation limit on this plan, so is the site fully treed or not? And where is the clearing limit?
100% trees and boulders, a lot of boulders.
Where is the clearing limit? Is it 100% of this area is getting cleared, or are there any trees?
The limit of work is pretty much the clearing. It's being cleared to that area. Where you see the stone, where you see the stone wall, the stone retaining wall, that's where the tree cutting stops. And in most cases, it's more than 25 feet away from the wetland. But the erosion controls are just below the wall,
Right, so you have to clear to put in erosion control, don't you?
Not really, not here. I mean, straw bales, you would have to move rocks. I mean, the whole site is, you could literally walk from one end of the site to the other without hitting the ground. It's completely covered with boulders. So we would be working our way around it. We'd have to move rocks, but we're going to use the boulders to build the wall. So we'll be doing a lot of rock moving. But again, before we do that, as we're moving the rocks, we would be installing the straw bales. And again, this would not be done during high groundwater or wet weather. So the last thing we want here is putting in, 2-to-1 slope, vegetated slopes in, heavy rain, wet weather. We just would, this summer would have been great if we did it in the, this would have been a perfect time to do it. But again, it's kind of touch and go when you're doing the erosion controls, because you have to install them, but you're not really taking out trees. You're using a, what we call a mini excavator, just to create a trench to put them in. But you don't cut down trees to put in erosion controls. You go around the trees. That's the nice thing about the straw wattles and the hay bales, is you have the flexibility to have a serpentine wall. We don't take down trees. We probably mess up a few shrubs, but we do not remove trees to do the erosion controls. Again, the idea here is to do a little clearing as possible.
No, I appreciate that, for sure.
Yeah, this isn't the type of, I don't clear cut my lots. I like trees. I like to leave the trees.
No, we're definitely pro-tree, just like...
And the idea here is that the reason you have retaining walls the way we have is because you have the 25-foot no disturb area. We could just, in 10 feet, you could drop another 4 feet. 5 feet with a 2-to-1 slope. You could drop 5 feet, but you'd be in the 25 foot, so that's what's causing the...
Oh, yeah.
But I have no problem with the stone walls, especially because we're getting rid of boulders. And there's a lot of them out here, not just on the surface. When we start doing the house septic system, we're going to dig up a lot more. As far as, I could give you pictures of different projects, Leicester, Worcester, the hills of Worcester, a lot of stone walls. Leicester, we just finished one. Again, this requires a special contractor who's familiar with working with boulders. It's an art, the way it's done, and it has to be done right. I don't know if you travel down the Mass Pike a lot, but when you're going westbound in Worcester, right on the Worcester line, there's a big white cross on the right-hand side with they call it the Great Wall of China. That's my wall. That's one of my walls. I designed that wall. And the fellow who built it, Dorenzo, John Dorenzo Sr., a very good wall builder, I worked directly with him. And National Grid actually raised the poles. They put in new poles through there, if you're familiar with that. They put in a whole line of new poles. They raised the poles so that we could have the higher wall. But anyway, that's, if you are going down the Mass Pike, you'll see it on the right-hand side. That's one of the higher walls that I've done lately. But I could give you pictures of Oxford, Worcester, quite a few. Leicester, town of Leicester, we just did one.
Nice. Totally appreciated. Absolutely. Yeah. But I would like to definitely have you, update your plan, but I don't know what other comments we'll have from the site walk. So I would like to schedule the site walk, and I was going to recommend, since you said you could get it staked so soon, we could do this weekend, but we are supposed to get a lot of rain from that hurricane coming up through Florida, so I don't know.
I can't do it Saturday, I know that.
Okay. Is Sunday supposed to be worse?
So we have a hurricane in Florida?
No, I think Friday, Saturday is supposed to be the worst.
Friday, Saturday is going to be the worst? It should be clear up. Yeah, we're supposed to get a bunch of rain.
I've been too busy.
They've already had the hurricane. We're just dumping on us. Okay.
Well, anyway, I'll work around your schedule. We have until the 5th, and I'll be,
Right, I'm only looking at sooner rather than later, just to preserve how warm it, I understand tonight it's gonna get cold, but I mean, I don't wanna be doing this in the snow. So Sunday, the 13th, what does it look like for this group? No, you're out. I'm busy the 19th. What about Saturday, that's Sunday, the 20th? That works?
I guess so.
I think that's okay for me.
Okay, so tentatively Sunday, the 20th. Do we prefer morning or afternoon?
Morning.
We prefer morning.
I vote for morning.
No, that's fine. I'm rolling with, I don't have a preference at this point. I don't have a lot of activities. Like, are we looking at like close, no, are we looking closer to like 8 or 10?
8.
8? You guys like 8 in the morning?
oh, you're a dedicated group.
Do we want to slide?
Morning to sleep in.
Do we want to slide to 9?
Yeah.
Okay.
9 is
Is
good.
that okay?
Or 10.
20th at 9 o'clock.
Steve, are you okay with that?
I am.
Excellent.
Can you just confirm the time?
Yep.
9 a.m.
9 a.m.
All right.
And I will, Steve, I'll be in touch with you, and I'll let you know about the staking and all that.
Okay. Both lots.
Oh,
Both
yeah.
lots.
Yes, both lots.
That was, yes. Okay, great. I will entertain the motion to continue Lot 2R on Birch Street, which is now number 21 Birch Street.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Mike, seconded by Mark. Roll call vote.
You want to put a date on?
Oh, sorry, continue to December 5th at 7 p.m.
7 p.m.
Eric outside.
Thank you.
7
Joe, bad guy.
Like Rocco, aye?
Mark Mangumai.
All right, do we have any different comments for Lot 3R?
Essentially,
for that one?
this is kind of a mirror image of that lot. Here's a copy of that.
Thank you.
This is basically a mirror image of,
One procedural question.
Uh-oh.
You should read the notice.
Oh,
yeah, we need to open,
no, you're right.
although you did say 2 lots when you were,
I did read it. I will reread the notice. Town of Douglas Conservation Commission, 29 Depot Street, Douglas, Mass. Legal notice for public hearing pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act. The Town of Douglas Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on November 7th, 2022 at 7 p.m. for 2 notice of intent, which are filed by Judy Barron, located at Lot 3R, Birch Street, near house number 27. For work to be done pursuant to the Town of Douglas Wetland Bylaw and the Wetland Protection Act, MGL 131, Section 40. The proposed work involves developing 2 lots with single-family homes, septic systems, wells, and associated landscaping. Public participation will be available by attending the meeting at the Town of Douglas Municipal Center located at 29 Depot Street, Douglas, Massachusetts, or pursuant to Governor Baker's June 16, 2021 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Laws 3818. Public may participate in this meeting via remote participation. A website for the meeting will be provided on the conservation agenda posted on the town's website at least 48 hours prior to the meeting. Copies of the notice of intent may be examined electronically by contacting the Conservation Commission at 508-476-4000, extension 205.
again, Bob Murphy. I have quite a bit of information here that was required as part of the submitting the notice of intent. I have like the ads and documentation that the ad was in the paper. And,
We usually take the green cards.
yeah, I have green cards and I have the
I have copies of the ads. I need the green card, so
We do need the green card.
leave those on the tables, or you can scan them and send them to me. That'd be great.
yeah, I scanned the certificate of mailing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I scanned those.
I have all that, that's good.
Right, but I have all the hard copies, so I figured I'd give you that too. And also, I made hard copies of the DEP wetland reports. So who would I give that to?
I can take that.
Okay. This is all going in the file. It's basically for both files. But it's hard copies of everything.
Oh, thank you so much.
Do you need that?
Bob, do you have any concern about two things? One, you're creating quite a channel on the uphill side of the driveway that comes down and basically comes right into the garage area? And it has to come, looks like it has to come across the driveway at that point? Is that a concern of yours, that you're taking it overland and then across the driveway? And when it comes across the driveway, when it releases on the other side, it might erode that bank?
Well, the idea is to have the vegetated area be spread out as much as possible so that the flow goes pretty much across the driveway in a sheet flow. The vegetated area, are you looking at the first lot? Or-
I'm looking at both, they both do this.
Whoa.
Because the driveway is raised so high, you're creating quite a valley on the road.
It's like a valley on the upper side, and the
Right.
idea is to have that go down across the driveway before it gets to the house. So you'll see what happens along the upper portion. It's fairly steep because that's where the deepest fill is going to be. And then as you get down toward the house, it's not all that steep. But the intention is to have the flow come down a vegetated slope along the driveway and then cross the driveway. And that's just the reality of having a driveway on the side of a hill. Again, if you look at the other side of the driveway, you'll see that
Is there any
filter strip.
opportunity or any benefit to maybe doing some infiltration on the uphill side, like where it says walk, in that area there, or just above that walk, or somewhere in that area?
Well,
I just get concerned when I see that amount of sheet flow coming across the driveway, and it gets to the other side, and it's going to start to want to, dig in on the downhill side of the driveway.
we could do the same thing. We could add a filter strip, in other words, so we would have a filter strip on both sides of the driveway. And it would go all the way down toward the walk. So that the filter strip it infiltrates the water. It slows it down with the stone, but it also has sand below it. And it goes into the subsoil, so it infiltrates the water. So we could put a filter strip on both sides of the driveway.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't have to have it along the whole driveway, because
Yeah, just the lower
that's
area.
not the water I'm worried about.
Yeah,
It's,
the lower area, but you're right, where
And then
it's,
secondly, there's no driveway turnarounds. So
there's
is that
no-
an issue?
it's just the driveway, it's a drive-under
Yep.
garage.
Yep. So when they back out of that drive under,
Back all the way up.
do they have to try to back up and curve
No, they're not
around?
going to, no, they'll
They're
have
not
to
going to
have,
be able to do that.
they'll have to have a turnaround. In fact, where I'm showing the walkway, past the walkway, I could have a minimal turnaround in that area. And again, there would probably be more stones, be another retaining wall in that area because you'd be cutting into the slope there.
Right.
That's actually a good idea because you're going to want to turn around when you come out of the garage.
Yeah.
I will add a turnaround to both of them
Yeah,
if I
you
need
need them
it.
on both.
Yeah, no, the 3R has a widening of the driveway. 2R doesn't. Turnaround. Yeah, add that to the plan. As far as the Lot 3, it's essentially a mirror image where you have a driveway coming down a similar slope. The septic system is before the house, whereas on 2R, the septic system was after the house. 3R, the septic system is before the house, because that's where the good soil was. There's also a wider area to work with. Stone boulder walls, infiltration system within the wall, and have to take a look at the filter strip. Getting the same idea. You're actually getting the same situation where the drainage is coming down the fill slope toward the level area in front of the house. So essentially what I do for the one driveway relative to the infiltration filter strip, I'll do for both driveways, so that we have we don't have a problem with drainage coming down the vegetated slope crossing the driveway. So that would be on the revised plans that I will have at the site walk. Everything else is pretty much similar. We can add straw bales in places below the wall where there would be a lot of construction, and add Caltech drainage for the roof drains to infiltrate the drainage from the houses. And again, I will be showing more or less a generic system at the lower side of the house, because that's where the fill is. Both houses have fill on the lower sides, and that's where the Caltech drainage system will go. If you notice on the plans, you'll see the way I configured the house so that it best fits on the site. Steve has the copy there, but this house is this is a custom shaped house, which would require not your typical Cape or Cape Cod style, but very easily be a colonial, but it'll be a particular shape where it's a little wider and not as long, closer to a cube than a rectangle, because that's what fits in there. It fits in very nicely. If the potential buyer decides to change that significantly, they'll have to come back to the board.
Yeah, no, that's understood.
Yeah. So again, what you're looking at is, if I built this lot, this is the way I would do it. And I would assume most contractors would agree with me. However, I don't know who's going to buy it, so they may have different ideas. But again, that'll go before the board.
Yeah.
But either way, there will be a Caltech drainage or infiltrator, whichever word. Caltechs are pretty good for the size house. They're easy to work with. And that would be located with setbacks to the house and the well. In this case here, the well is pretty close to the house, right near the house, so we'll have to locate the drainage, stormwater management relative to the well.
Okay.
I see the water line going up, but where's the well? How far from the erosion control?
You have electric coming from the house, and the water line is shown from the well to the house.
Right, but I'm just trying, I'm trying to pick out where the well is, because we're on a point in front of us.
Is it a well or is it town water?
No,
Well,
the well
it's off the
is
back corner there, about 28 feet. Right?
way up at the top. You'll see it says well.
Yeah, I
There's
know.
a sump
Okay,
up
right
there.
All right,
That's the water service. Again, where we have neighbors on either side across the street and the septic systems, we have to be 100 feet away from all the septics. So that's what kind of pushed the well over in that area. One note I might make is that the abutting lot to the south, Venincasa, shown right essentially where it says site plan. That lot has a huge amount of fill that's been kind of dumped on it. It's got railroad ties and tires and a lot of junk. We're going to work with the neighbor there to kind of clean that area up because it goes over the property line. The fill is on my client's property. So we're going to work that out so that we can get the fill from their site to blend in with the fill from our site, and then we're going to take all the junk out of it. There's a lot of, it looks like an old farm. It's just got a lot of old junk.
We can look at it on the sidewalk.
Yeah, you'll see it on the far end. That's all going to be removed.
Okay. Excellent.
And again, if you, as far as landscaping, there's, you can see on this plan, there's a lot of shrubs and trees and things brought in.
Yeah, if there aren't any other comments, I'll entertain the motion to continue to 7 PM on December 5th.
So
Motion made by Mark, seconded by Joe. Roll call vote.
Reverse aye.
Joe Fitzpatrick, aye.
Mike Buckle, aye.
Mark Mangiamai.
Thank you very much. It's excellent.
Thank you for your time.
Absolutely. All right, item number 13 is a request for determination of applicability for 170 West Street, Douglas Renewable Solar. Jeff Murphy, or whoever is presenting, name and address for the record.
Good evening, members of the commission. My name is Jeff Murphy. I'm a civil engineer with Beals and Thomas here on behalf of the applicant, Douglas Renewables LLC. And here with me tonight as well is Julie Boschman of Nexamp, who's with solar company developing the project site. So this particular project is a solar project that was previously permitted and approved at 170 West Street. The project has been substantially completed and constructed, and we're at the final stage of the project where we need to interconnect with the power grid. So there's some utility poles that have been installed by National Grid, who's the utility provider, coordinating with. And the situation that we have is our site access was fairly constrained in terms of wetlands, obstacles. We had a very narrow, approximately 20-foot wide corridor to fit our driveway in. That's been constructed, and there is a proposed, or a row of utility poles that have been installed by National Grid, which are adjacent to the currently constructed access driveway off of West Street. I don't know if there's a plan that you could...
Yeah, so we're going to pull something up. In the meantime, I'm going to pause you for a minute because I've got to read the public notice.
Oh, sorry about that.
Nope, that was my mistake. Town of Douglas Conservation Commission, 29 Depot Street, Douglas, Mass. Legal notice for public meeting. Request for determination of applicability. Town of Douglas Conservation Commission will hold a public meeting for Douglas Renewable Solar LLC on November 7, 2022 at 7 p.m. at the Municipal Center, 29 Depot Street, for work to be done pursuant to the Town of Douglas Wetland Bylaw in the Wetland Protection at MGL Chapter 131. Section 40, the proposed request for determination of applicability work location is 170 West Street, and the applicant is requesting permission to selective tree trimming and removal, stumps to remain within the bordering vegetated wetland in buffer zone. Public participation will be available by attending the meeting at the Town of Douglas Municipal Center located at 29 Depot Street in Douglas, Mass., or pursuant to Governor Baker's June 16, 2021 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Laws 3818. The public may participate in this meeting via remote participation. A website for the meeting will be provided on the conservation agenda posted on the town's website at least 48 hours prior to the meeting. Copies of the RDA may be examined electronically by contacting the Conservation Commission at 508-476-4000, extension 205. This was posted on October 28th. Thank you. And right now we're sharing the image of those trees, if you can see that.
Yeah, so in the photo that we're looking at, this is a photo of the, looking along the row of utility poles. There's been 3 utility poles installed along our access driveway, the first of which is in the foreground there. So in order to meet the requirements that National Grid has in terms of clearances for the overhead wires, they require a 10-foot corridor be cleared on either side of the poles in order to accommodate the wires. So we have several trees that are located directly adjacent to our limit of work line, where the branches and or the trees themselves are within that 10-foot corridor that we would need to satisfy the National Grid requirements for the clearances that they would like to see. So we're estimating that there would need to be approximately 9 trees that would need to be removed in order to provide the clearance that the utility company is looking for. And 3 of these trees are located in the buffer zone within, I would estimate, 15 to 25 feet of the wetland line. There's 2 large white pines that you can see in the photo a little bit further back, about 100 feet, 150 feet from West Street. As you go in towards the site, they fall within 5 to 10 feet of the approved limit of work line. And they're more or less on line with where National Grid has installed the poles. And when we had originally designed and permitted the project, we tried to, keep our limit of work line as tight to the driveway as we could in order to, minimize the impacts that we were having associated with the construction of the project. And the unforeseen situation is that the trees that are actually located outside the limit of work line, some of the limbs are overhanging the area that we would need to provide the interconnection for the solar array. So we're looking to get some clarification on whether the work can be considered within the realm of the project approvals.
Okay. Steve, did you have any comments on this?
I went out there with Jeff out there and the contractor, and it was more of a procedural thing. I think given the amount of work that was done, a lot of the trees, some of them were a lot smaller caliber. You got the 2 large pines, which are farther away from the wetlands. All the other pines are really taken down around them. So they'll probably, because they're unexposed, be snapped off in a couple of good storms anyways. I don't see any adverse effect to the surrounding resource areas. In this area, this is the head wall. What really feeds this is there was an old farm here. I think there was a well that came out of the barn to the left that really feeds this area. It's not really bordering a stream or a traditional BVW, so it's not like it's in a smack middle of a wetland. So I really didn't see too much issues with them moving forward with the work they're proposing.
Board?
So So there's really only 2 large pine trees being taken down?
Yeah, so they're asking for, it's a determination of applicability, so if we issue them a negative, we're saying this isn't making a substantial enough impact. We can still issue a negative with conditions, and they had already said in the legal notice that the stumps would remain. So,
Hard for me to judge when I don't have a plan that shows the wetland edge to know, what's being proposed within the wetland, what's being proposed within the buffer.
Steve had drawn me one on the back of a napkin, so I
So we did submit a plan with the RDA filing that depicts the approximate locations of the trees.
Yeah, let me see, I thought I had that, I gave it in a copy of the RDA, was that part of the RDA?
It's the last page of the PDF.
Well, maybe,
So if you were to go to the end of the PDF that you have open right now.
My last page is blank.
I think that's probably our problem.
Oh, I didn't print out the RDA, I printed out the photos. Let me see.
That.
Yeah, so it should be at the very end.
I agree that that is probably where it should be.
Oh, there we go.
Yep, so this might clarify what we were explaining. So the shown in red are the locations of the utility poles that were installed.
Red?
And the kind of dark black lines, the one on the lower side, which is the west side of the driveway, was the approved limit of work line. And then the green circles are the approximate locations of the trees that we would anticipate needing to be removed to provide the 10-foot corridor from the utility poles. So the 2 large white pines that we were talking about are located just to the right of that wetland flag 18 and that culvert that goes under the driveway, which was the area that Steve was describing. There's like a little spring or something coming out from that barn, which is that rectangle to the upper part of the plan, and we installed a culvert to maintain that connection, and then the BBW being on the lower side. And then approximately a handful of 4 to 6 inch diameter, like red maples up closer to the street are the ones that are actually within the BBW. And again, the trees would be removed and not stumped, so they would just be able to cut them so that they wouldn't do any disturbance to the ground itself.
So now that I see the plan, I see that a utility pole was actually installed within the wetland. Is that correct?
So, yeah, so we estimate that they had originally installed the utility pole, which is numbered 60-3, closer to the access road, but then National Grid subsequently moved that pole about 7 feet further outward, which I think they tried to install the poles in a straight line. They typically try to keep these pole runs as straight as possible. So I guess
Without
that was
regard for plans. Okay.
So that is what yes.
Okay.
So you said they tried to put it closer to the driveway, but they didn't or couldn't?
Well, they initially installed it closer to the driveway and then subsequently moved it. I don't have the specific reason why they moved it, other than maybe they thought it was not a straight enough line of the poles.
Oh, yeah, no, an electrical engineer meets a civil engineer.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it would be offset any more than it already is or right now. I mean, they're not a straight line at the moment, so.
Fair.
Would National Grid allow for any plant material underneath the power lines. So the reason I'm asking is, I mean, trees obviously you can't do, but like low bush blueberry shrubs or something like that, would that be something that would be possible to plant within that? Under the power lines?
I would think that if it didn't grow too tall, like you said, something that wouldn't grow high enough to actually present any sort of hazard to the overhead wires, would be in the realm of possibility.
Okay.
So you said the solid black line was the limit of work line as proposed?
Correct, yeah, that solid black line.
Was the original plan or notice of intent, did it show the power poles?
So it did show proposed poles. However, in terms of the actual pole configuration, typically the utility company has kind of the final say of where the poles go. And that was the situation, was where they made the decision of where the poles were going. And they were really, quite honestly, further off the driveway than we thought that they were going to be. So that, I think, is kind of the reason why it's, you know, we didn't think it was going to be that close to the edge of the tree line there.
Steve, isn't this a change to an existing permit as opposed to a request for determination of applicability?
A new RDA, yeah. It would be a minor plan change.
That's a good point, Mark. You know, when he originally asked me to go out there, I was thinking more in lines of the utility pole as in respect to National Grid. I know National Grid filed an RDA for the pole across the street. And that's what I was thinking. You're right, they do have a open order of conditions for the solar farm.
Yeah, what made me think of it is a certificate of compliance when they come back to us for that. So
right,
it's quite different. I'd rather they file for a change or whatever that takes, as opposed to an RDA.
A minor plan change.
Minor plan change. And that way we can also condition it.
We can condition.
Well, I mean, we can condition RDA, but it's already
It should have been a plan change.
It's a plan change.
What are your thoughts, Steve?
What's that?
I mean, do we want to condition a negative RDA, or do we want to have them refile as a plan change?
If you're going to be adding conditions within, well, I know we talked about, they're about to file probably a certificate of compliance pretty soon, but when is your order up, Jeff? Do you know? It's been 3 years. I mean, you should probably either ask for an extension or.
Jeff, hi everybody, this is Julie Bushman with Nexamp, the solar company. The order of conditions that I see is from April 2019.
Okay.
2019?
So it's already 3 years.
Yeah.
I guess a question I would have is, would any of the permit tolling provisions apply to it if it was approved before the state of emergency went into effect?
It would.
So there might actually be an extra 462 days, I think is the number.
Like 20 months, yeah, you're right.
So may still be
Yeah.
active.
Yep.
Well, so yeah, it's really a commission's decision which way they want to go. I mean, certainly they can file an RDA. But if you wanted, like Mark said, condition that if you want additional mitigating measures or restoration associated with the clearing, then that enforceable act would be more prudent if it's tied to the order of conditions.
That's how I feel.
Okay.
I don't know how we go about it because we've opened up in this meeting as an RDA. So how do we have it be changed to a change to their existing permit? I don't know how we do that.
I don't either. I was formulating a very clever answer, but I don't have one. We would just cancel the RDA, and no, I don't know how to do that.
Right.
But we would simply do that, and then we would ask them to file the plan change.
But you issue a negative, I mean, a positive determination and then have them
That's true.
modify the notice of intent.
True, that is a positive determination, isn't it?
Right, but they don't need a new notice of intent because they have an open order.
Correct. Not a new notice of intent, but a change.
Right.
Are you gonna add anything else to the, you're gonna want to file a public hearing or just do a minor plan change?
A minor plan change.
Minor change.
Yes, minor plan change.
So you can issue a negative determination, I mean, a positive determination. And then Jeff, I guess what they're saying is, do you want additional conditions added to the plan change that Jeff would add to this plan that you see on the screen? And then you'd make a memo on how this is going to be added to the
plan.
To the file.
Yeah.
To the file, to the plan, so when it comes up for the certificate of compliance, this is going to be almost an addendum to the plan that's going to be looked at.
Right, during the certificate. Right, because you got to show the movement of the pole. But like we're looking at now. But I'd want to see it on the main plan.
And I'm also suggesting that the trees that are being removed do act to shade the wetland on that edge, and that I would propose or request that that there be a planting of high bush blueberry or similar type of shrub be planted along the edge of the driveway to restore some of that shade that's
Something
been
that
lost.
wouldn't be as tall as the lines.
Right.
But would provide as much shade as you could get, yeah.
Exactly.
No, that's what I would look for too. And I realize it's something that could be conditioned, but I still think the right thing to do is to put it in a plan change.
So I think they got time, I mean, based on the sidewalk, right, Jeff, you don't plan on doing this before December 5th?
We might, we might have to, but we can wait. It's okay. We have equipment coming for the top of the poles. But I think it's still a couple weeks out from that date, so let me check.
Okay.
And we're fine with the plantings as long as they're not going to be higher. So we just need 10 feet of clearance below the equipment, 10 feet above, and then 6 feet on each side.
Okay. You want them to put something below rather than 6 feet off? They don't have room to put it more than 6 feet off the side. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, so it'd be something that would be lower than 10 feet below the line.
Correct.
Yep.
I mean, it's just unusual. I mean, I'm not sure if the commission's adversely opposed to them doing the work between now and the 5th. If they had, I mean, you could certainly do a negative or a positive determination with the condition that they're going to file a plan change and come back on December 5th with an updated plan that the commission can vote and approve on.
Well, so that's, would you be opposed, is it crazy to say that we issue them the negative so that they can do the work, and then we ask that this all end up on their plan that we eventually look at? Well, they'd have to put it on the plan anyways.
Yeah, it's going to have to go on there, as built.
Yeah. I'm just trying to find a way where we could approve this using what we have in this meeting, and then make sure that those changes showed up on the plan that's in the certificate. Yeah, because it really is a minor plan change. I just trying to avoid holding them up past December 5th.
Why couldn't they go ahead and do it? And like I said,
And then file the minor plan change?
Right.
We could do it that way too. All right.
That way they can get the thing in. In the meantime, they get the plan straightened out, file it, and you're all set.
Okay. All right, then I will entertain the motion to issue what sounds like the positive RDA, and we will be looking at a minor plan change on December 5th.
Yep.
So moved.
Motion made by Mark, seconded by Joe. Roll call vote.
Eric Harris, aye.
Joe Fitzpatrick, aye.
Nick Rocco, aye.
Mark Mongemai.
All right, there we are.
So they can go ahead and continue.
Yep.
They don't have to wait.
Yeah, if you have your equipment coming in sooner than that, then do the work.
Great, thank you very much.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep, welcome.
Sure, I understand that, but I'm positive RDA.
Yep, means that we think that there is an impact.
And then they need to respond accordingly.
Right. Right. But they don't need to refile because they have an open order. They need to edit the existing order.
Okay.
That was the whole issue. If their other order had been closed with a certificate, then they would have had to do this new filing. But they had an open order that we want them to edit.
Because of the pandemic, they extended it, what, 20 months?
Yes. Yeah, something like that.
Yes.
And they're still doing work on that order.
Yeah.
Right? The project's under. All right. So. Old business, number 14, 7 PM, public hearing continued for DEP 1430914, this is Shore Road. We have some letters, but I think that since we don't have representation from the parties involved, we can review those letters. But I thought we were going to push the discussion.
Oh, we had, last meeting, we asked, there was a couple of questions. One, the order condition, as this one had, it expired, actually on October 17th, 2022 was the expiration date on the order, but we reached out to town council, and there is a tolling period. As the gentleman said in the last meeting, it's 400-something days, it's roughly 20 months, so their order is still active. So I know that was a question for the last meeting, and that he did reach out to town. Our town council reached out to the Miller's legal counsel about coming to this meeting for an update. Unfortunately, legal counsel wasn't able to make this meeting, so he requested, or his intention is that they would show up at the next meeting, December 5th, and be present and give the commission an update on where they stand with the project, is my understanding.
So we're going to move it to the 5th?
Yep.
So
I don't have, and so we don't have, I don't have to take a vote or anything. We don't need,
we just continued it again.
right, it's not, oh, it is a public hearing. Oh,
It is.
I'll entertain a motion to continue the public hearing to December 5th.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Joe, seconded by Eric. Roll call vote.
Eric Harris, aye.
Joe Fitzpatrick, aye.
Mike Rocco, aye.
Mark Mangum, aye.
All right, thank you. Rolling back, the only thing that we skipped here was the meeting schedule. The only one that could have been a concern, April 10 is Easter Monday, which is just the Monday after Easter, unless most of us travel for Easter. I think I'm okay with meeting the Monday after Easter. We're not gonna have a majority that's out
The
of town.
10th?
The 10th of April is the Monday after Easter this year.
Why are we having it on the second Monday in April? Oh, maybe because we can't.
No, this is,
Usually Patriots Day is around one of those Mondays.
I'm gonna find out.
Yeah, usually the 19th or 20th.
Patriots Day is a Massachusetts holiday.
Yep.
Google doesn't tell me what it is.
Marathon Monday, come on.
Right?
It's on,
The 17th. So there is no reason why we couldn't meet April 3rd.
Oh, April. And April 10th is,
I think the reason, if you met the 3rd and then you beat to, the 17th, you wouldn't meet in 2 weeks. And then, so the next meeting would be, unless you want to meet the last meeting in, I guess you could meet the 3rd and 24th. So they kind of split it and just said, we'll meet once on the 10th.
I think that that's what they did, is that they didn't want us to have such a large gap.
Right.
Okay, board, do we want to vote to approve this list, or do we want to change the April meeting to the 3rd?
Say, keep this list.
Okay. In theory, if we get very busy in March, we could vote to move those meetings to the 3rd and the 17th, but we would have to make that decision.
Or you could just add, April 24th.
Oh, we could just add the 24th if we had to. Okay, great, no, leave. All right, so we're good with leaving it alone?
so you're going with the 10th?
Yep. So, I will entertain a motion to approve the Conservation Commission meeting schedule as proposed in our packages.
So moved.
Motion made by Mike, seconded by Joe, roll call vote.
Harris, aye.
Joe Fitzpatrick, aye.
Mike Rocco, aye.
Mark Mangum, aye.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And that's all I had for tonight. Thank you.
I'll bring some pens over.
Oh. Don't forget the orders. Oh, yeah, there's a pile of pens in here too, but thank you.
We have things to sign, right?
Yep, we do. We also have mail. All right. Make this go away.
Did we do a motion to adjourn?
Oh, God. Yep. I'll entertain a
She's on
motion
the
to
ball. She's
adjourn.
listening.
Still moved?
Motion made by Eric, seconded by Joe. Roll call vote.
Eric Harris, aye.
Joe Fitzpatrick, aye.
Mike Rocco, aye.
Mark Mangum, aye.
Thank you.